What do? We use some kind of bleach, some kind of detergent. The cloth goes through entire process of washing, drying, cleaning, and then we look at the cloth, and the cloth is purified. So satsang also means the process of cleaning, the process of purifying, the process of cleaning and purifying from within, the inner self, is also satsang. Satsang also means good from a higher perspective, like being in a good company, having good friends, constantly being with enlightened people, listening to good people, enlightened people, coming to Saket. All this is also satsang. So, the more you be with good people, the more you listen to good people, automatically good thoughts will flow in your mind. You learn more of a positive perspective. And you come closer and closer to God, you seek God. The more you develop satsang, it should lead to nitsang. That is the same way that you treat the banana peel. We do not love the peel, we do not love or hate the peel. We do not disrespect or respect the peel. We just throw it away. We do not like or dislike the peel, we just throw it away. Because it served its purpose, and that is known as nitsangat, that is detachment. A satsang should lead to nitsang, then only it is a true satsang. If it does not lead to detachments, it is a slow process, but it should lead. As long as we are not detached, clarity will not dawn. All the clouds, once we are detached, once we are clear, all the clouds of fear, confusion will vanish away slowly, and we'll be able to solve our problems more effectively. Now, satsang is a process by which slowly our mind, our intellect purifies, and it leads to non-attachment. The moment there is detachment, all the delusions, illusions, and moha that we have, they go away, they fade away. And you become more focused, you can concentrate from within. Once you start concentrating, once you are more focused, then you sit on the seat of meditation, and then it can happen. That stage is known as Jivan Mukti. That is, you become realized, you become liberated. A very obvious question might come in our mind, that if a person is realized, liberated, how can he lead a normal life? How can he lead a routine life? He has to deal with 10 different people around. He has to do all the routine activities, daily activities. He has to use his body, mind, and intellect. Though how can we say he is realized? So here Lord Shankaracharya ji asks us 3 questions. And by asking us 3 questions, Shankaracharya ji answers the contradiction by asking us 3 questions. Now we will see the 10th verse. In that we'll come to know. Vyasikate kah kama vikarah Shushke nire kah kasarah Shine vitte kah parivarah Nyate tatve kah samsarah Vyasikate kah kama vikarah. Vyasikate means when the youthfulness, when the age has passed, kah kama vikarah, where are all the desires, where are all the lust, passion that we had? The one which was the most prominent desire at that age, they all pass away, they all fade away. For example, say kids. Kids have a desire of collecting things, like boys have desire of collecting cars. But once they grow up, once they are 15, 16 years old, will they collect the same cars like they were collecting when they were 5-year-old? No. Their desire goes away. So, shushke neere kah kasarah. Neer is water and shushke means dried. So, when the water is dried, kah kasarah, where is the pond, where is the tank? You cannot call a barren land with no water, a pond or a tank. For it to be called a pond or a tank, it has to have water in it. So, Shine vitte kah kasarah. Vitt is wealth. So once the wealth of the individual is gone, where are all the relatives, where are all the dependents, where are all the supporters? Nobody is there to help us. Everybody runs away. As long as we have money, everybody is there with us. But once the money is not there, once the capacity of an individual is gone, nobody will come around, nobody will wander around you. So, I had read a good line out somewhere that when a man becomes successful, he has true enemies and false friends. So it goes up here. So here, by giving these three examples, Shankaracharya ji has explained the cause and effect relationship. That is, where the cause is ended, the effects no longer exist. So the cause here is the youthfulness, the effects is the desires. So if the youthfulness goes, the desire fades away, the desire also goes. So similarly, Nyate Tatve Kah Samsarah. So when the person becomes liberated, when the person is realized, he knows the reality. Where is the samsar for him? Kah samsarah. So as we have seen in the above three examples, that the end of cause eventually leads to the end of its effects. Similarly, for an enlightened person or a Siddha Purusha, Kah samsarah, that is, for him the cycle of sukh dukh, happiness, sorrow, which occurs because of the detachment, delusions, illusions and moha that are there in us, they all end for that enlightened person. We can also look at this thing with a different example of a dreamer and a waker. A person will have all the anxieties, fear, worries of a dream as long as he is in dream. But once he wakes up, these fear, anxieties, they go away. That is, a very dream no longer exists for him. We are no longer worried about that dream then. Oh, it was a dream, we say. So by this, Shankaracharya ji answers the questions that how a Siddha Purusha lives in this world.
I am Nitish. I'll chant the shloka, please repeat after me. Ma kuru dhanajana yauvana garvam harati nimeshat kalat sarvam maya mayamidam akhilam buddhva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. Now, what is Shankara doing till now? Basically, he's scolding us, Nalayak ye kar, wo kar. Buddhu, ye bhi karta hai, wo bhi nahi karta. Now, when you start scolding a child, when a mother starts scolding a child, after a point, she realizes, gali galot se fayda nahi hai. So, he softens his tone. Basically, ma, please realize, okay? Now, he's appealing to the intellect here. He's trying to say, please, he's saying, if there's something between your ears, if there's not a Khalistan between your ears, there's a Khalistan between your ears, then, if there is, then this is not for you anyway, okay? If there is, so you have to realize, do not, he says, ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam. He says, he uses a very strong word here. Gurudev uses this word called vanity, okay? Now, vanity means one which has no basis or foundation. Okay, now you will suddenly realize, why that makeup box women carry is called a vanity case. You realize that? God knows what is false here. What are they trying to hide or what is hiding? So he says, Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana. He says, do not take false pride in dhana, jana and yauvan. What is dhana? Dhana is money. Lakshmi. Swamiji has talked about it many times. What? Money is, she is champal, chachal, doesn't stay in one hand. Champal, chanchal, chapal. She never stays in a hand. She moves from one hand to another. I'm not going to touch it. Jana. No, people following. There's a lot of people following. You win an election 3 years ago. People will not vote for you again, except your family members, if you are being, again, in the same way. So this is how, once in the Jayalalitha government, what happened was there was this, Chennai is a city of jams. Lots of jams are there. So what happens in Chennai once is, this guy gets stuck in a traffic jam. This is the time when Jayalalitha's case is happening. So this guy he says, man, this traffic jam is, awesome traffic jam, nothing, we are not even moving from one place to another. So this guy rolls down his window and he sees a cop passing by between the cars. In India, you can walk on the road, by the way. Here you cannot. In India, a cop walks on the road and the guy says, officer, what is happening? So this officer replies that Jayalalitha just heard the verdict that, she has been convicted of tax evasion and she doesn't have the money to pay the tax. She says it's 85 crores. So she is lying on the road and she is threatening that she'll douse herself in gasoline and set herself on fire. So I'm taking collections for her. So the guy asks, how much have you collected? The officer replies, I've collected about 10 liters. Okay. 10 liters. Okay, so this is how people are. They vote for you and they won't vote for you. They say, get this person out, he's a rascal. Okay, now, in a rickshaw, I read the solution for this also. What happens? In India, you have autos, three-wheelers, the nice things are written on the back. So this guy actually writes, Ram jug mein doodh mila, Krishna jug mein ghee. Congress jug mein daru mili to khoob daba ki pi. Okay. So, this is what happens. You should know how to keep people. But let's go to the next. The third thing he says, do not take pride in yauvana. What is yauvan? Yauvan is youth. This yauvan is 6 feet. You're tall, broad. Then suddenly you're totally. You say you just gone to the gym and come. Guy is going. You say, "Hey, budde idara." That's how youth is. That's how pride of youth does. That's what it does. So he says, do not take pride. Why should you not take pride? He says, Harati nimeshat kalat sarvam. Time loots away everything in a moment. One example I would give you is Saddam Hussein, not very far off. He had money, he had fame, he had a lot of things. But what happened? Suddenly, Bush decided he got to go and he went. That's it. He had no proper reason for it. So, this is what happened. People will argue, youth is not such a thing, but again, imagine the same old guy, wearing his sister's chain. Oh, this is my sister's chain. It's okay. They are wearing his sister's chain, and he wears a very tight shirt, leaves the first button opens. Otherwise, nobody will see the chain, right? So he leaves the first button open, and what happens is that, he again calls, "Hey, budde, idara." Only he and the Buddha is there. Suddenly a drunkard comes behind him in a bike and hits him. Now, when this guy falls, he and an auto, the Buddha picks him up with the auto guy. And this guy being so heavy, he falls 3 times. Again, he's picked up and, taken to the rickshaw. Now, this guy sits in the rickshaw. He's taken to the hospital. By dumb luck, he gets hit at the right place at the right time and his spine gets broken. Now, such is the case of this guy that he is not able, since his spine is broken, he's just lying. He says, Bhaiya, ek pair utha ke dusre pair ke uppar dal do. This is what happens finally. It just takes a moment for you to lose your youth, vigor, everything. Now, what he says, the solution for it. He says, Maya mayamidam akhilam buddha. After realizing the illusory nature of all these, Brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. He says, realize God. And he's not talking about these ordinary gods, We have ordinary gods like Shiva, Vishnu, we give them addresses, right? Shiva we keep in Kailash, Vishnu we keep in Vaikunt. I thought about it, why? We are scared of them. They should not see what is going on, right? So we keep one in Kailash where nobody goes. Vishnu, we are even more scared, so we keep him in Vaikunt. So he says, but he is not talking about these gods. He's talking about the consciousness. He's talking about the awareness within you. He's talking that realize that awareness, what is the true consciousness, and revel in that. Now, he says, in the previous shloka, he says about time. He lays emphasis on time. He thinks that we have not yet got what the true value of time, what exactly time is. So the next shloka talks about what is time and its emphasis. He says, Dinayaminyau sayam prataha Shishira vasantau punarayataha Kala kridati gachatyayuhu Tadapi na munchatyashavayuhu. Again, Dina is day. Yamini is not the name of a girl, it is night. Okay. Sayam prataha, dawn and dusk. Shishira vasantau, winter and spring. Punarayataha, come and go again and again. Basically what he's trying to say is time goes away. Days become weeks, week becomes month becomes a year, and time goes on. We are saying right now, Dallas, it is cold. Before we know it's going to be summer, and we are going to say, such a summer did not come. Yeah, Dallas, it's the hottest summer we ever came across. Now, what do we do? All this time in India, here it is less, but in India there is a lot of babudam. Like the favorite word of the official sitting on the desk is kal. Everything they'll say kal. Kal, sabi karwana hai, kal aao. So this is impressive. And we Indians like this word kal or not. We love to procrastinate things. So we love it so much that we have even named a city behind it. Okay, it's called Kolkata. Okay, that shows the importance of kal in our lives. But Shankaracharya talks about it more further. He says that kala kridati gachatyayuhu. Okay, he says, time sports and life ebbs away. Now, this statement is important. He uses the word time sports. Okay, there is time sports. Okay, one thing we have to realize is you can sport with someone. You cannot sport alone. Like you have, Rasa Krida, Krishna sporting with gopis. Then you have cricket Krida, you play with sport. Similarly, cricket Krida, you play with a bat and a ball. And then you have Kala Krida. What is time playing with? Time plays with us. Okay. Now, I'll just give you a better example. Let us take this example, you have a cat and a rat. Okay. A cat kills a rat. Okay. But how it kills the rat is important, is very interesting. What happens? We are talking about a common cat and a rat, not about Tom and Jerry, okay? Tom and Jerry, something funny happens. So, how a cat kills a rat is, it doesn't kill it straight away, it plays with it, it plays. It will take from here, it will go there, it will just paw on it, then the rat will, bleed for some time. It will take it to a corner. In the corner, it best, rat starts shivering, when it starts shivering, what happens? The cat is still there. All this shivering is just making it more hungry. So what does the rat do? It closes its eyes. Thinking the cat will go away. It does not. Okay, what are we here? We are the rat, right? We are not the cat. Okay. The cat is the master, the rat is the slave. Okay. Similarly, you have a creditor and a debtor. The creditor is the master, debtor is a slave. We have the employer and we have the employee. The employer is the master, the employee is the slave. Now, we realize that a lot of people have done a lot of things in such a short span of time. Shankaracharya, Vivekananda, Ramanuja himself. Now, how did we realize, how did they do so much in such a small amount of time? We wonder. The only reason being they employed time. They employed time. Time did not employ them. Time employs us how? We say, यार मेरे पास टाइम ही नहीं है, क्या कर रहा था आज सुबह से मैं वेट कर रहा था, मेरा पैकेज आ रहा था ना, तो मैं सुबह से वेट कर रहा था, पता है क्या, इसलिए मैंने आज कुछ काम नहीं किया. Basically they employ time and you have to utilize time. This is what Shankaracharya says, that spirituality is time management. You have to live every moment spiritually. And what do we do instead of living spiritually? We say that Tadapina muncha tyasha vayuhu. And yet, even though realizing all this, one leaves not the gusts of desire. In the sense that we do not, yet knowing, we know all this, we have to make use of our time, yet we fall back on our old ways. We do not, leave our desire. We start, we start following on, concentrating on dhana, jana, yauvana, and, start building pillars, and then, on already it's very unstable. We keep dissipating our energies, and yet we do not leave our old ways and follow on to the new way. Now, I would like to make a statement here about time. I read somewhere by Swami Krishnananda saying that time is that which is between what you are and what you want to be. Now, one thing is very important, and if we want to realize anything, we have to give up the illusion of time. Now, this is most important. We have to give up the illusion of time, and we have to control time. Hari Om.
I'm Prahlad. First, I would like to tell you why do we need this Bhajagovindam. If we look at all our scriptures, everything has beautiful stories. It's like a theme, enlightenment with entertainment. So, what we are doing is we are just taking the entertainment part. Enlightenment part, we are not even throwing small light on it. We are just leaving it. So here Shankaracharya decides to hammer on us. That's why he called it Mugdha, Moha Mugdha. Yeah. So, and that's introduction. Just Nitish mentioned about time. And we know that everything merges into time. But still we want to control everything. We want to boss around everybody. We are boss of my family, boss of your team, or we want to boss around. And then if somebody don't listen to you, or if things doesn't happen the way you want, you start worrying. Why? Shankaracharya says how to deal with this in this sloka. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta Vatula kim tava nasti niyanta Trijagati sajjana sanghati reka Bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka Kate kanta dhanagata chinta. Kanta means wife, dhanagata, wealth. We know it very well. Chinta, worry. Why do you worry about wealth and wife? Vatula kimtava nasti niyanta. Vatula. Almost in every sloka he calls us Muda, We find some word to call us. Here he is calling us Vatula. Vatula means bestful. Who is the bestful? Who worries about unnecessary things? We are very good at worrying. We make the hell out of nothing. So we worry about past, present, future, and we worry about even small things like my hair. I'm worried about my hair. I'm losing. So, Vatula kim tava nasti niyanta. Means, is there not one for you, the one who commands all this world? Don't you think there is a big boss in this world who is commanding everything, who is ruling everything? Trijagati sajjana sangati reka. Three means three. In Sanskrit also it's three. Three. Trijagati. In the three lokas, sajjana sangati reka. Sajjana means good. Sat, good. Jana, people. Sangati, association. Sajjana sangati, association with good people. Eka, only. Bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. Bhavati means can serve you. Bhavarnava tarane nauka. To cross the sea of change, nauka as a boat. Means Sajjana Sangati serve as a boat to cross the sea of limitation. Let's see. Worry. What is the meaning of worry? If you look at the dictionary, it says mental distress or agitation resulting from concern of something. Something means anything. We worry about everything. And few people worry about death also. I don't know why. Because we don't feel death. Do you ever see some dead body stand up and say, I'm dead? And same way we don't feel our birth also. Same, we don't feel death, but we still worry about it. Basically, worry means wasting your mental energies. When one's mind is worrying about all these thoughts, mind has no more vitality left over in it. Basically, worry exhausts us. It saps out all the dynamism the personality has, without which we cannot face the battle of life. Remember, the weak must perish. That is the law. So basically, we are not losing. We are losing by our making all these worries. We are losing. So now nobody is winning against us. We are just losing ourselves. So this is the problem. How do we solve that? How do we come out of this self-ruining habit? There is only one thing in the three worlds. He says Sajjana Sangati, Sajjana Rekha. Who is Sajjana? How do you know? Nobody is hanging boards, right? I am good, I am good. So how do you know who is Sajjana? So Sajjana means good people who are themselves well-educated, self-controlled, who has a vision and mission. Not Chinmay mission, but and Tulsidas ji in Ramcharitammanas also says, Binu satsanga viveka na hoi. Discrimination cannot arise without the company of noble. By association with good people, our qualities flourish. By contacting with them, the healthy attitude towards things, we become inspired to live our virtuous life. We grow out of the weaknesses and we develop detachment towards the world, and we learn to understand the goal of life and the means to reach it. And in this poem he compares, in this sloka he compares Sajjana Sangati with Nauka. How this Sajjana Sangati is going to help us throughout the journey of our life. Like one boat takes you from one shore to other shore. And when you are, this boat is not just useful for while leaving to shore, but until we land safely at our destination and all throughout the journey. And it is the boat which keeps us afloat throughout the journey. And it is the boat which takes the wave lashes and it gives us a little bit of shakes to the jerks to traveler. So basically this Sajjana Sangati is protecting our armor and our inner equipment. It helps to fight our own enemies and our own false values, acquired habits of the sensuous living. So we can call us, actually we say Kurukshetra is happened there sometime. No, it is happening every day here. We have to fight against all these Kama, Krodha, Moda, Lobha, all those things every day. So who is Arjuna and who is Krishna there? All these false things, all these bad tendencies are. Arjuna means basically Nara, he is also called Nara. This is man. So we have to fight against those. Who is Krishna Bhagavan? Our Vichakshana, the power of discrimination is Krishna. So basically the summary of this sloka is, first, worry. Why we are worrying? Because of attachment towards things. How can we solve that? Sajjana Sangati. What happens with Sajjana Sangati? Detachment, which leads to freedom from delusion, so that you know the reality, which leads to enlightenment. We can compare this process with driving experience actually. Today morning while going to office, I got this idea. When you are driving, like when you are learning, you have all fears like, oh, I cannot drive, I don't know how to drive. So while learning stage, you don't even look at watch. You'll ask some other person, what is the time? You are just holding steering and looking at the road seriously. You have hard time to follow even signal, all the boards and why? Because you don't have that knowledge. How do you get that knowledge? Driver satsang. Whoever teaches us that driving satsang. There are different kind of satsangs. We know that, right? Anjaneya gives Lankini do satsang. That is different type. So this is driving satsang. So with this you get the knowledge. With the knowledge, once you have the knowledge, you have to practice it. Just to listen to, you have to drive this way, just reading a book and you cannot drive that. You have to practice. Same way Sajjana Sangati also, just coming here, Saket and listening to this and just doing pujas and everything doesn't matter. You have to really think about it and follow those things, whatever you have been told. So once you cross that phase and all the delusions are gone, now you know that you can drive. And then which leads freedom. Then after that you can drive and you can do makeup also. You can see people, while driving, people do makeups. So that's, but driving is short period, maybe in 1 month you can learn, but this enlightenment, all this process is lifelong. It can take few lives also. So let's see what happens. And so far, if we look at all the slokas, is kind of Shankaracharya is talking only towards like Gruhastha people. It looks like that, but he doesn't even leave those people who called spiritually inclined or spiritually evolved. In the next sloka is going to talk about them. Please repeat after me. Jatilo mundi lunchita keshaha Kashayambara bahukruta vesha Pashyannapi chana pashyati mudaha Udara nimittam bahukruta veshaha Jatilam mundi lunchita keshaha. Jatilam means one with matted locks. Mundi means one with shaved head. Lunchita keshaha, one with hairs pulling out one by one. This is funny thing. Kashayambara Bahukruta Vesha. Ambara means clothes. Kashaya, ochre clothes. Bahukruta Vesha. All these makeups. Pashyannapicha na pashyati moodaha. Pashyannapicha, though seeing, na pashyati, never see. Who is that? Moodaha. See again, he loves mooda word. Mooda. He is a fool. Indeed, udara nimittam, udara means stomach. Udara nimittam, for belly's sake. All these veshas are just for belly's sake. So in the name of spirituality, there are many processes that get engulfed, that the process remains, but the purpose is lost. Mechanically, we keep repeating those processes every day, every time. We don't know, we don't have a clue where we are, or we are just on the way, or we don't know, we forget about the purpose. So he is calling those people fool. I mean, he's not saying all these processes are waste, and processes are not wrong, but you should follow the process with some purpose. Intellectually, maybe all those who entered into sannyasa initially, maybe intellectually they all know what is the noblest way of life, but yet if they fail to live up to those values, he is muda, he is wasting his time and everybody's time. And these deceptions with matter locks and akar ropes, I mean, it was there in that time, and nowadays we can find so many people like that. I mean, if you want, you can also become like that. I mean, it's easy. Just learn 2-3 Bhagavad Gita slokas and go somewhere and start telling about that. Yeah, I'm sure you will have some followers. It doesn't matter whether you follow it or not. Just enough. So though this sloka is talking about these spiritual people, how does it, what is the message for us? As Swamiji says, don't become professional listeners. We all come to every class, we don't miss, and we come to every class, we do arti and everything. But first we have to understand why we are doing that. Is there any purpose behind it? So try to understand that and try to then follow those processes. And one more thing, in Indian culture we have so many festivals, and we celebrate each festival. We celebrate compulsory, but we don't know why we are celebrating most of the times. And every festival has some message behind it. Diwali is not just for firecrackers or just playing with kids, and not just for that. Yeah, maybe you know the story Narakasura Vada behind that, but even that is you have to know that. But behind that there is a concept at least in a year, at least one Amavasya, let's fill it with a light with our efforts. That is the concept there. So like that, there are beautiful messages in our all festivals. And recently I heard one poem in actually it is in Telugu, but I'm sorry about others. I'll try to explain. పండుగ ఎప్పుడంటే పలానా రోజంటే మిగతా రోజులు అన్నీ భారంగా ఉన్నామంటే, బంధువులు ఎవరంటే పలానా వాళ్ళంటే చుట్టూ ఎందరు ఉన్నా ఒంటరి అయినట్టే, పంచాంగం చూస్తే గాని పండగ రానందా, మంచి ముహూర్తం కాదని గుండెల సవ్వడి ఆగిందా. It's saying if you say festival is so and so that day, so we look at the calendar and we know that day is festival going to come, so so we eagerly wait for that day and we enjoy once that day comes, and we celebrate everything and that day. So he's asking, so you are just waiting for that day means you are dragging all of these days, you are just bearing all these days. And he says if you say you have relatives, okay, that person is my relative, that person is my friend. So even you are sitting among a group of people, if you are saying that means you are alone, still you are alone. And saying You don't need to look at Panchanga to celebrate anything or to be happy, anything. And does it, is your heart ever stop beating, stop, because this is Durmuhurta? Is it stopped, your heart? No. It's functioning, so do your duties. Don't look for time. Oh, time is bad. I'll start like every new year we make resolutions. But after 1 month, we look for next year. So, that's it. Hari Om.
Hari Om. My name is Gautam Thaluri, and I'll be speaking on stanzas 15 and 16. My notes is all full of scratches, so I don't know what to say. Okay. Please repeat after me. Angam galitam phalitam mundam Dasana vihinam jatam tundam Vruddho yati gruhitva dandam Tadapi namunchatyasha pindam. This 15th sloka and the following 116th sloka is about different kinds of people. Shankaracharya is saying about different kinds of people by looking at whom we might think, by looking at their appearance or just by looking at them from a long distance or even from short distance, we might think that they are wise and they are mature. Spiritually also, that's what we might feel. But that might not be the case on a closer inspection. In this stanza, Shankaracharya is particularly talking about an old person. And he is describing the condition of the old person. How is he? The body has become worn out. Angam galitam and palitam mundam. That means the head has turned grey. I mean, even my head is turning grey, but in this case, it is fully turned grey. And dasana vihinam jatam tundam. That means it's clean bowled here. All the wickets are gone. The mouth has become toothless. Vruddho yati gruhitva dandam. That means, you know that puzzle, that riddle, right? About a human. He starts with 4 legs and then he walks on 2 legs and finally he comes to 3rd leg. So this Vruddha, he is taking support of the wooden staff. But seeing this, we might think that this person has gone through different experiences in life and he might have learned something from the life and he might have been mature now and he is full of wisdom. But that might not necessarily be the case. And in many cases, although their physical body is frailed out, there is no energy in it, but still they haven't gotten rid of their desires. That is the important thing. I mean, going through the different experiences in life, one has to know, at least that desires are the root cause of all the evil. And that is which is binding us. So instead of realizing that, he keeps on clinging on to these desires. This situation can be explained with a simile of a person in prison. A person in prison, he thinks of his family, all the kids at home, their laughter, and he very much wants to be there, to be the part of the family and enjoy with the kids and share his all the good experiences. But we know that he is physically restricted, not to move from the prison. Similarly, this old person, though these desires are just these desires, we might have all experienced this because of the Maya. And the Maya is so immense and so powerful that in spite of, the old man becomes crazy because of these desires. He feels as though he is imprisoned in his frail body, not able to satisfy his desires because of the physical restriction, because of the, like it's said in here, because of the worn out body, the limbs and different organs. The other day, Swamiji let me first talk about how powerful this Maya is and how we fall into prey to the Maya. And then we can discuss what Shankaraji has to say about the solution to control this. Like the other day, the Swamiji in our teacher satsang was explaining how we fall into prey to the habits. It's like a kujli. What happens? First, there will be an itch. It is called vasana. And because of that itch, what we do, in the case of kujli, you try to scratch it, thinking that you get momentarily, you get satisfaction out of it. But what happens? It worsens. You try to do it again, and it worsens even bad. And so what I'm trying to say here is, how we fall into prey to these desires is, it starts as a small itch called vasana. And once you do something, you act on something to get rid of the vasana, you think that, okay, I conquered it, okay? But really, we being fools, we are not conquering anything there, but in fact, we are acting according to the whims and fancies of the mind, and thereby becoming slave to it. And the other day we all watched a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know. In it, it is clearly explained how how a person falls into bad habits. If you think about it, think about any bad habit that you want to get rid of. Maybe it's drinking coffee. My wife always scolds me about that every day. Or it could be alcoholism or smoking. How it all started. Just as a bad habit, you first try to experiment with it and then you slowly fall prey of it. So, having explained this, is there no hope at all? But there is hope. That is what Shankaracharya is trying to explain here. The only solution is not realizing all of a sudden at old age, oh, now there are only few more days left for me and I need to realize. And that is not the way it works. You have to inculcate controlling the desires right from the age of, not childhood maybe, because like it said in one of the slokas in Balyavastha, you'll be playing, and it's not wrong. In fact, it is better to get rid of that vasana there itself. Instead of carrying it over to the next yuktavastha, or even worse, when you get married and you try to do the mischief. So, get rid of, you might want to, you can play when you are young, but when you are child, and once you reach yuktavastha, once you start thinking about different stuff, why you do something or not, at that age onwards, try to devote some time towards spirituality and try to control the desires. Then at least, once the youthfulness is gone, at least in the old age we can live peacefully and with a tranquil life. We can lead a tranquil life. And we can just do justice to the Vanaprastha ashrama. So basically all the 3 or 4, I'm not quite sure, 4 I think stages in life, Balyavastha, Yuktavastha and Gruhastha and Vanaprastha, all these are linked. So we try to get rid of the vasanas in each stage, and so that we can ultimately reach beyond and reach the ultimate reality. Nowadays, in this, unlike the popular belief, nowadays what's the popular belief? People say that we lead a free life. And what is a free life mean for them? Doing whatever they want to do and whenever they want to do. And they call, this is free life, we can do whatever we want, we can do whatever we feel like. But is that free really? No, because we are doing it in the influence by being influenced by our mind. So instead, like Swami Chinmayananda said, control and master. Control the vagrant mind, the violent senses, never let them do as they fancy, but bring them all to serve you well, serve your will. Yield not ever to their dictates, and see that they execute all that you order. So let's try to control our desires next time onwards. Going to the 16th stanza, Agre vahnihi prushte bhanuhu Ratrau chubuk samarpita januhu Karatala bhiksha startula vasaha Tadapi namunchat yashapashaha. Here, Swami Adi Shankaracharya is explaining this asha, our desires, as chains that bind people. And like in the previous stanza, he talked about gruhasthas. And now he is talking about those people who claim themselves to be sannyasis or swamis, and who try to, and the very motto in their life is to achieve the Brahman or self-realization. But instead, they limit their effort only to the physical level, at the body level, forgetting that they need to go beyond the body and then mind and intellect to reach the self-realization. So, being just stuck at the body level, what they do is just to torture their body by means of all these different things, like explained in this sloka. Let me give you the meaning from the book. In front of the fire, so these people, they don't have any money, and they don't even have the bare necessities in their life. So when there is in the cold, what they do, they sit in front of the fire, and at the back, and during the daytime, they bask under the sunlight. And during nights, they sit like this with their knees held to their chin, because there is no clothes, and when there is no fire, that is how they spend their lives. And Swamiji said these are people out there, they are called Nagababas, without not wearing a single thread. And this too in Himalayas and all those cold places. And they don't have anything to gather their bhiksha. So their palm becomes their bowl. And they live under these, under the trees, and yet, this is the important piece, they don't get rid of the desires. So what are they, whom are they trying to fool? Even Lord Buddha was like this. He started out to be, once he left Kapilavastu, he wanted to become self-realized, and he spent 14 years torturing his body. Not that it is of any, it's a fashion or anything, but because he wanted to realize, and he didn't know the correct means. After 14 years, he thought to himself, okay, enough of this, no more torturing of this body. The purpose why I left Kapilavastu, I was a prince there. Why I left my kingly royal treatment is not to torture my body, but to self-realize. And he sat under the Bodhi Vriksha, and within 3 days, he got self-realized. So what that tells us is, just torturing your body or physically torturing yourself, it's of no use unless you get rid of the desires that bind you. There is no doubt, though, renouncing the sense enjoyments is a way to keep out of their influence. But you shouldn't stop there. Our focus should be on getting rid of the desires. Not understanding this, there are, like our Prahlad was saying, the spirituality in Hinduism has a lot of entertainment in it too. So we have innumerable stories of Rakshasas also in our Puranas. And you might have heard of, Bhasmasura and many other asuras. They were not, they were pretty good at severe penance. They did for years together to get their boons. But because of their, desires, what happened? It all turned out for their own destruction. In the case of Bhasmasura, he turned himself into ashes. And there is a nice word for these kind of people. They are called hypocrites, or hypocrites, right? The word makes me draw a similar comparisons to homely versions of hypocrites too. And what these people, why are they called hypocrites? Because they love doing pujas or vratas. And one of the popular ones is Mauna Vrata. And you should see, actually this is an example given by Swamiji many a times. What they do is, all through the Mauna Vrata, they don't say anything to anybody, but their entire drushti is outside. What's happening in the family, who is talking to whom, all the nonsense is in their head. And they keep the Mauna Vrata. And as soon as the Vrata is over, everybody is scared to go to face them. So these are also called hypocrites. So basically if we go stepwise, what we are supposed to do is, first one, physical self-denial alone in itself will not do. So what must be done? Along with the physical self-denial, we should eliminate desires. That is the second point. And third point is, once you do this, as a result of this, the vital energy that is we are wasting in different channels, it gets saved, which we can redirect to other higher, achieving higher purposes. And this particular thing, redirecting the energy towards higher cause, is called sublimation. And this is very important point. Sublimation is very important, not suppression. Because if you suppress the desire, they will come back. What is the difference between suppression versus sublimation? Sublimation is something that is born out of clarity. And how clarity is formed? Because of dispassion. That is vairagya. And how vairagya comes? Once you inquire into things with proper discrimination. Vichakshana jnana. So to take home from stanza 15, we should start early in the spirituality and continue even the same spirituality even in old age. And from stanza 16, it is inculcate dispassion born out of discrimination. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat.
In all these verses, or nowhere you'll find try to achieve Brahman. Otherwise, you'll always keep trying. They say realize Brahman. There's a difference between trying to realize and realizing it. Okay, let me get it across more clear. See, the definition of time is important here. The definition of time says that time is that which is what you are and what you want to be. It's the thing between them, what you are and what you want to be. So if you always want to be something, you'll always be wanting to be that, because there's always the time between them. Now, if there is no time between what you are and what you want to be, you are that. So this is what I meant by you have to give up the illusion of time. Am I making myself clear?
Try to implement whatever you learned in satsanga.
You could also keep on, the attachment that you enjoy the satsang so much, you keep going back to it, right? You can start implementing it also, but at what point do you break the cycle of being dependent on that?
I think if you should know, at one point you will know, right? How do you know you are attached to it? That means you are contemplating on it or you are thinking on it. So you have to keep on doing that, and if you know that you are doing that, then you know the solution. You have to detach from that.
I think Swami Vivekananda ji said, even a golden chain is still a chain. So even if it's a good pattern or bad pattern, anything should be gotten rid of if you want to go beyond it. So satsanga is a good pattern just to get rid of bad pattern, right? So ultimate thing is to surrender everything. So how do you know when to get rid of good pattern? I think once you are there, you will know. You don't need no more satsang.
I would just like to quote Gurudev here. He says the only way to detach is attach. Attach to higher things, higher things, higher things, higher things. And you climb a ladder step by step. Okay, only when you're on ladder 2, you can see ladder 3. So once you're on ladder 3, you'll grow out of it sometime. It'll happen. It happens. You always go higher. Well, like I right now like bhajans. Couple of years down the line, it's no point.
I had the same question.
That's not answer that I have, but there's one of my thoughts. It says that that is why you have been given so many lifetimes. Yeah, see, just because it is a difficult task, and the whole creation realizes that growing out of it is a difficult task. That is why so many lifetimes have been given. If it was easy, if it was a fixed process, there would have been say, okay, you have 7 lifetimes and you're done. Like it's not like that, and that's why there are so many lifetimes. At least in our school of thought, there are so many lifetimes given for that, and it is possible. Otherwise, there would have not been this concept of having so many life, giving you so many chances. If you're realizing, if it was not possible, we wouldn't have been here in the first place. You can, I guess.
Like somebody said, Anuja said, once you grow out of certain age, you automatically drop the idea of playing with the same old toys, right? So once you grow beyond, and if you think about it, once you go beyond self, and once you don't have any desires, no itch to do something, which is practically, if you think about it, it is practically possible. Because years of surrendering whatever you do into a higher altar, you don't have any more desires or itch or liking like that, right? Once none of these are there, where are vasanas? That is what transcending vasanas means.
exhausting vasanas and transcending vasanas. Though they look or appear to be similar, but there is a slight difference. Exhaustion of vasanas, there is an internal pressure that builds over that desire, and unless intelligently expressed, it cannot get purged. It can get fulfilled, it leaves further impressions lead to further actions, and it continues in that loop. But intelligently applying our sense of discrimination and dispassion in practice, we purge those vasanas. By offering it to higher altar, we purge them. Having purged them, this body, mind and intellect still has certain prarabdha. And the prarabdha can be said as, I'll give you two examples. One, when you turn off the fan, there's a movement. So when you turn off the fan, it doesn't just stop there. Like, you play on your computers or DVD players, you hit stop and it just stops there. The fan movement is not like that. The moment you turn off, it still continues under the existing momentum. It takes its own sweet time to stop. Similarly, a master who has realized who has exhausted the vasanas, there is still a prarabdha left of this body, mind and intellect, and exists in that body, mind and intellect as long as that prarabdha exists or that destiny exists. At that time when he is dealing with this world, though he comes across things that could have enticed him, that he was scared of, afraid of, anxious of earlier, though they are all around them, you're not scared of it. There is no such anxiety feeling anymore. You have transcended those tendencies. In the process of purging it, exhausting your vasanas, you are a part of the system. The moment you talk of transcending it is there all around you, but it doesn't affect you anymore. You are in it, but you are not affected by it. The same sloka, Nalini Dalagata Jalamati Taralam. Like yesterday, Hema spoke about it. That you are in the murky waters, but the murkiness of the murky waters doesn't affect you any further. That's about transcending the vasanas. So it was a great talk. I think today after yesterday's experience, they eased out their shoulders a bit, and there was much of humor today. It was good sign to note, and give them a big hand. Let's conclude with the Shanti Pata. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.